Good morning. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, March 30th. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. Let's start with our breathing. I want you to stretch real big and wake your bodies up. Wake up. How many of you are still in your jammies? On this last breath, let's do butterfly breath. There we go. And I am wearing this because we are going to start talking about our new theme, and that is a new season called spring. Okay, let's review. Spring is one of our 4 seasons, right? We have winter, which is the season we just ended. And then winter is our coldest season. It's also the season where a lot of plants and animals go hibernating, or the plants go dormant, right? There's not a lot of growing on this tree happening right now. It's also the season where the days are very, very short. And then our next season after winter is the season we're in now, and this is spring. We start to see more and more flowers in spring, and that's a time of growth. And this is an apple tree. And after spring, we can expect my favorite season called summer. And summer is our warmest season, and it's the season where days are the longest. Plants have a nice long chance to grow. Animal babies grow up, lots of sunlight, it's very warm, and that apple tree is now growing apples, those flowers turned into apples. And I'm going to show you an apple tree in just a minute. And then our last season is autumn or fall. And that is when the days start to get shorter, the weather gets a little bit cooler, and the leaves change colors and fall off, right? That's our 4 seasons. So spring is a busy time for animals and for people and for plants, okay? The weather warms and it will allow more time for us to be outside. The days are getting longer. Spring rain encourages new plant growth. Spring is windy and wet. Animals awaken from hibernation and new babies are born. Let me show you a picture and we'll talk about some activities that people do in the springtime. So take a look and describe the weather. Does it look warm? Is it raining? How do we know it's maybe warm? Because people aren't wearing jackets, are they? Do you think this picture takes place in a city or in the country? And my guess would be in the country. Are they planting a garden? Have you ever planted a garden? Why do people grow flowers? Why do you think? Is it because they're pretty? I think so. What kind of vegetables would you find in a garden? Maybe some carrots, some broccoli, pumpkins, tomatoes, all kinds of things. So springtime is a time to plant our gardens, and then our gardens will grow until the end of summer, and then we can pick the fruits and vegetables that we've been tending to for all this time. So we're going to look at some vocabulary words. Okay, some spring vocabulary words. We have grow. This is what growing means. Grow, growing, grew. See the little tiny seedling and it gets bigger? It's growing. This is flowers. A lot of baby ducks hatch in the spring, and baby ducks are called ducklings. And this is called a blossom. It's the part on a tree where the bud opens up into a flower. And I'll show you what a bud is. Okay. We talked about tadpoles last week and froglets. This is rain. Spring is rainy. And this is a baby sheep called a lamb. Lots of lambs are born in the spring. And this is called frog spawn or frog eggs. Frogs start to lay their eggs in the springtime in the ponds. This is a picture of a bud, okay? It's when the leaf starts to open up again and the plant starts to grow and the tree starts to grow. We'll start to see a lot of butterflies. And this is a chicken, baby chicken called a chick, and they hatch from an egg. So those are your vocabulary words for today. We are going to start with letter Y, and I've given you a letter Y in your packet. And what I'd like for you to do is draw something that starts with letter Y or something that's yellow, okay? And then we'll put that in your journal. So we'll start off by Y, yak, y. Every letter makes a sound. The letter Y says y for yarn. Maybe you can make yellow yarn. What is this person doing? Yawning. Yawning. And of course, what color is that? Yellow. Yellow. And many of you like to eat this at school lunch. What is that? Yogurt. Yogurt starts with the letter Y. And how many of you like to eat eggs in the morning? And this part of the egg is called a yolk. You say yolk. And what is this? A yo-yo. Okay, so those are your letter Y words. All right, I have some math activities for you to do. I hope you started to learn about money and what's different. A button is not money, right? You couldn't use a button to go pay for anything. But this is money. These are called pennies, okay? And this is also money, and it's called a nickel. And this is also money. This is called a dime. Now, which one do you think is more valuable? The nickel or the dime? Even though it's little, this is more valuable. We need 2 nickels, and they're worth 5. So hold up your hands. 5 and 5. How much does that make? It makes 10, doesn't it? This is worth 10 of these. 10 pennies. Okay? And this nickel is worth 5 pennies. So I want you to start playing around with the value of money, okay? So, for example, create sets of 10. 5 pennies equals 1 nickel. 2 nickels equals a dime. 10 pennies equals a dime. So let's play around with the value of 10, all right? I also want you to work on the number 7. What is 7? 7 is touch, push over, and slant all the way down. Touch, push over, slant. Maybe you can make sets of 10. Put 5 pennies. And how many more pennies do you need to make 7? How about 6 pennies? Okay, play around with that. And then the last thing I want you to do is, I imagine some of you may be coloring Easter eggs. If you have an egg carton, I want you to count how many spots are in that carton for those eggs. And that is called a dozen. So start playing around with the value of a dozen, and a dozen means 12. Just like a dime means 10 pennies, a dozen means there are 12 of something. So you may have heard of a dozen donuts, a dozen bagels. That's what that means. Okay, so I have some activities for you to do. If you can write numbers 1 through 12 in that egg carton, and then find things around your house, and in the number 1 spot, put 1 thing in there. And in the number 2 spot, how many would you put in there? Okay? All right, so let's see. For your movement activity, I want you to dance to music. Focus on jumping backwards and forwards, side to side, backwards and forwards. Have a dance party today. And that's it. So we have letter Y. We have signs of spring. We have a dozen, the value of a dozen. We have some other math activities for you to do today. And I will read a story later today that you can see. So have fun, and I will see you tomorrow. And we will have show and tell tomorrow on our conference call. Bye now.